Martin, what is the first memory that you have? Or perhaps maybe not just the first one, but maybe like the one, like your best memory associated with cooking?
Hmm. I don't know if it's like there's probably like even better ones probably out there, like ones I made later in life, but I do remember just kind of more of a feeling or more of a vibe, cooking with my mom and my great grandma whenever we would go down to Tennessee. And it was always like, we get there, hadn't seen each other in a really long time, and it's like the first thing you do is unpack, and then it's like everyone's making a meal. And I just remember, for me, I mean, they would have me do little prep tasks, but it was more about like watching my mom be able to interact with the person that she loved, you know, and catch up and to see how they bonded over that. And it was weird. It was kind of like being in that position of seeing the way that connected them, you know, and then in the way that connected me and my mom. And so I think that's something that I think of when I think about why I'm like, you know, the days where it's really hard and you're like, why am I doing this? And then you kind of remember that it's like how much food can kind of center a family that, you know, like I said, we didn't see each other that much, or, you know, there was other stuff that would get in the way of maybe having some of those really happy family moments, but felt like food was always at the center of it. Yeah.
What inspired you to take that memory and some of your other experiences and go to culinary school and turn it into a career?
I had my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I got the bachelor's degree. It was kind of supposed to be, that was supposed to be it, right? And I wasn't very fulfilled, and I kind of hit a wall during COVID where both me and Connie were kind of just we weren't really fulfilled in the thing we were doing. And I had heard people talk about the AB Tech program, and it was something that I had gotten back into cooking when I met Connie, because they didn't really cook for themselves, or they didn't really have a lot of passion around what they would eat. And it was kind of it was like my little project every week was like finding a new food that they didn't like before that I can make them like. And so when we heard about the AB Tech program, it just seemed like, why not, right? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And it was kind of like I said, at a wall moment of like, well, we have to change something, or just keep kind of working the dead-end jobs that we're working. And yeah, so I'm very happy we kind of just went all for it and made that change.
So this is your second time around on the Hot Food team, and this year you're the captain of the team. What do you feel is different about your experience so far this year?
I think I now have such an appreciation for not just doing your own, or like when you're thinking like the bigger picture of everything. I think that's what feels so different, is that this side of it, it's almost like the food becomes secondary, because there's so many other moving parts that you kind of have to be aware of as captain, and being so attuned to every single person's needs. And like, some people need you to say something to them this way, other people need you to say things to them this other way, and making sure that everyone feels listened to and heard and supported in the ways that they all need, which, like I said, can be really different from each other. And then kind of just feeling that responsibility of, you know, if something goes wrong for them, it's not their fault. It's also my fault that I didn't set them up in the best way for them to be able to be successful for this thing. And that's kind of how I feel about not just with each of my teammates, but like the menu overall. I think they just feel a lot more responsibility for that turning out well, and to be the one who's like putting in the most time or the most effort, not to be like better than everyone else, but just, you know, I've really felt that sense of how are they supposed to show up passionate and wanting to do this if I'm not showing up passionate, if I'm not the first one to kind of do like the task nobody wants to do, you know. And so I'd say that's one of the biggest differences, is just kind of zooming out and not just seeing my own part in the team. And I think that's how I felt last year. Like, I didn't really feel like I was a piece in the team, but I think now as captain, it's like seeing all of the moving parts that actually gets us from, you know, those first few practices to nationals ready.
You graduated from the program last month. has there been one overall guiding principle or something that you learned during the program that continues to be like this one, kind of like a kitchen truth that you continue to see out in the Asheville kitchens?
I think I don't know if it's like, it's not, I don't really have a saying. It's more just I guess what I've kind of seen is that I'm kind of seeing more and more that you can come into any kitchen or come in anywhere with any sort of skill level. But I feel like what I've noticed that's helped me along is your personability. You're showing them that you want to show up, you want to be there. Your attitude, I feel like that's almost taken precedent over even sometimes your skills. Like, I know for myself, it kind of feels like certain opportunities I've gotten so far have just been because someone has told me, like, oh, well, you always seemed ready to do it, or you were always optimistic about doing it, or you never complained about this. And I think that can be hard because it's like you always feel sometimes you don't want to do a certain task, or you don't want to like be here right now, but having the attitude of this is I'm doing this right now because it will help me in my future, and I'm doing this right now to get the experience or to learn, or like having the mindset that like every opportunity is just a place to learn, you know. And it might not be something that in the moment you'll realize helps you, but I think what I've kind of taken from the whole program, because that's kind of like, I joined the hot foods team just because it was like, well, why not, like, let's just see where this takes me. And I feel like I got the opportunity to be team captain, so it was like, well, let me put in this effort and just see where it takes me. And so thinking about, like, if I had just shown up and not been as enthusiastic, or not been as like, hey, I'll do that task, you know, you might not get picked for those certain roles. But the loss of that opportunity of what you might learn is kind of something that I've realized. So every time I'm either scared to do something, or like I don't want to do a task, it's always that thought in the back of my head of like, push yourself, make yourself do that, because it will serve you later. There will be a reason, you know, that you will look back and be like, I'm glad I took that opportunity, or I'm glad I pushed myself that little bit extra harder for this.
So it's been almost 2 years since you walked in the door here at AV Tech for the very first time. Is there anything that you might want to say to the Martin that walked in those doors that Martin may not have known then, that would have perhaps been important to know?
I think honestly that there is another side of it, you know, that and I think realizing that you don't have to be perfect. I think I did try. I think especially that first year, it was like I was so terrified to do certain things because it's like, well, I'm not going to do them right. And so it's like I almost want to tell younger me of like, well, you weren't going to do them right. You know, you might not even do them right the third or fourth time you do it, but you're not expected to, you know. And as long as you keep trying, as long as you keep applying yourself, you're going to get there. It's just more having to sit with that feeling of like, you're just going to have to sit with the feeling that like, oh, I was not good at this the first time. Which I know for me personally is like sometimes a little bit of a hard thing, is like if you're not good at it the first time, you just feel just kind of like deflated about it. But having had so many times now where it's like I'm not good at the thing the first time, and then I push myself and I keep doing it, and then eventually I do get there, just that there's always something to learn, and that it doesn't have to be perfect, and no one's going to judge you for it not being perfect, but know that there will be a time where after you've done it so much, you're going to get maybe not perfect, but pretty darn close as you can, and then you're going to keep growing from there, and you're going to find a new thing that you're not very good at, and then you're going to get better at that.